Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the January 28th, 2025 Liquor Board hearing to order. It's now in session. I'm going to start and introduce Mr. Hurdle.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Abraham Hurdle, counsel to the board. At the beginning of every meeting, council makes a few brief announcements. First, the commissioners are part-time public servants and they have outside interests. When they know they have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, they recuse themselves. They cannot possibly know who will appear from the public in any given matter, which will present a conflict of interest to them. If anybody believes that a commissioner has a conflict of interest in any matter, you have to announce that to us as the case is called, and the commissioner or commissioners, as the case may be, will deal with that accordingly. If not, then the commissioners will proceed with all hearings under the assumption that there is no conflict of interest. Secondly, the rules of the board provide that the chair, for the purpose of administrative and judicial economy, can have the board's counsel, myself, rule on admissibility of evidence and objections if there are counsel present and objections are made. This board handles many cases at every hearing, and this assignment allows us to expedite the hearings. So rather than having the chairman turn to me and me advising the chairman, I'll simply make a ruling, and my ruling will be that of the chair. Finally, renewals are right around the corner, and as this is a customary and the policy of the board and its administration, we're unable to process and issue new licenses and transfers between February 28th and May 1st. With that, I turn it to the Chief Inspector, Mr. Ford, who will call the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to please, if everybody could take a moment, silence your cell phones or turn them off, please, if you have not already. Thank you very much. One quick announcement, the transfer application for Maryland Wine and Spirits has been postponed, and with that, I will call the first case, which is Northway Liquors. Northway Liquors, Inc. Thank you very much, Mr. Lyman. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach the desk. Remain standing. Raise your right hands, please. Remain standing for me. Raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Detective Middleton, if we could start with you, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, currently assigned to Western District.
Detective Charles Cepeda, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Good evening, Brian Lyman, Lyman, attorney on behalf of licensee Northway Liquors, Inc. and Dharmendra Patel.
My name is Dharmendra Patel, address 7707 Lexington Court, Glen Burnie, Maryland 21061, owner of Northway.
My name is Sanjay Kumar, 602 Old State Road, Glen Burnie, MD 21061.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hurdle?
Excuse me. Sorry, what was your last name again, sir?
Your last name?
Sanjay Kumar.
Okay.
Kumar, Kumar.
We also have another person summoned in this case. No. I believe Mr. Patel. Is he here?
No, not on this case.
The manager on duty?
Yes. Was he was summoned, Chief? Or Ed?
Our report reflects a Dharmender, a Chetan, and a Samjay.
Yeah.
We've got the licensee and the clerk who made the sale. We don't have the on-duty manager, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
He was summoned. All right. Normally what we do in this case, and I think you understand that, Mr. Lyman, is we postpone the case, and then we also add a charge of cooperation for the failure of that person to show up. Is he going to be instrumental in the testimony this evening, do you know?
Not this.
No. I mean, we're going to present a case in mitigation. We don't have a defense to present. Mr. Patel was the manager on duty, and I'm happy to describe if the board wants to continue. I don't think that he was instrumental in the issue with the underage service at all, or any of the facts at issue. So, and again, I apologize to the board. It was an oversight on my part in communicating that to Mr. Patel. Clearly, that the manager had to be here also. I wasn't served with the summons, so
We never got some.
well, you got them served. Mr. Patel was served at the store with the papers. I think Mr. Patel thought that the violation was for the clerk and for the licensee, so.
And who signed for Mr. Patel's summons?
I think Mr. Patel signed for all the summonses.
He actually signed it.
And then he forwarded the summons to Mr. Patel, the licensee, and to me, and I made sure that the factual issues that could be addressed with the clerk before the board were addressed and that questions could be answered. I don't know I haven't prepared with Mr. Patel, Chetan Patel, the manager at all, and he's not instrumental to any defense or mitigation, so.
All right, what this does is puts this board in a position where we've set a policy, that everybody summons either has to come or simply notify us that they can't. And I don't think I know of any time that we've rejected that. So I'm going to go ahead and postpone this case till the next available hearing date. And you can expect another charge of cooperation because Mr. Patel didn't show up. And I apologize to you, even though you may not have, you are ultimately responsible. So this case is postponed until the next available hearing date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Mr. Lyman. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our next case is Severn Liquor Discount Mart. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and raise your right hand. If you could remain standing, please. Thank you. And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. And Detective Middleton, if you could begin for us.
Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Detective Charles Cepeda, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Bittner on behalf of licensees.
My name is Ethel Lee. My address is 14160 Twisting Lane, Dayton, Maryland 21063.
My name is Charlie, 14160 Twisting Lane, Dayton, Maryland 21036.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurdle.
All right, excuse me. Is there a Mr. Hulk here?
Mr. Chairman, believe
Well, he was excused.
presence.
Okay, good. I didn't want to repeat that again. All right, thank you. And I apologize for not being aware. Okay.
Detectives?
Good evening. November 21st, 2024, approximately 7:45 hours, Detective Middleton and I were working Operation SAVE, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age. The subject entered the Severn Liquor Discount Mart, which is located at 7958 Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Maryland, which is in Anne Arundel County. We observed the confidential source enter the business. Confidential source went into the store, picked out a 6-pack of natural light beer, and took it to the front counter. The clerk did not ask the confidential source for identification. Confidential source was given official Anne Arundel County funds and was able to purchase the natural light beer from the sales clerk. Confidential source then exited the business and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to myself and Detective Middleton. We know through our training, knowledge, and experience that natural light beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Middleton and I then entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Chul C. Lee, who's seated at my left. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Sorry. The owner clerk advised that he was the owner clerk advised that he was on the manager's agreement and had alcohol awareness training. He was advised of the violation. A photograph was also taken of Mr. Lee and the Anne Arundel County liquor license, which was properly displayed inside the establishment. Photograph was also taken of the alcoholic beverage, natural light beer, and then it was subsequently destroyed. The owner/clerk was cooperative, and the store was not busy at the time of the alcohol sale. A copy of this report was then forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. That's all.
Mr. Bittner, do you have any questions of the officer or the detective?
Detective, as you indicated, Mr. Lee was polite and cooperative.
That's correct.
He's the owner operator along with his wife, Miss Lee.
Okay.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And this is not a problem store in the area.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Now, when the confidential source went in at 7:45 in the evening of the 21st, it was dark outside.
Yes, that was correct.
And you don't know if it had been busy right up the minute before he went in, it just wasn't busy when he went in at that time, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Chairman, do you have any questions? No questions. Commissioners?
No questions.
Mr. Bittner?
I don't have any other questions. I don't have any testimony to offer, and we'll submit. Like to be heard in mitigation.
Now's your time to be heard in mitigation.
So as the board certainly well knows, the Lees were before you in September for an incident that occurred in June of this past year. That being the first incident that they appeared since 2007, as I understand it from their records. They've been licensees since 2005. They're the owner-operators. They're there literally all the time. And I saw the restriction that everybody had to be alcohol awareness, and when I went into the shop and was speaking with the Lees, I'm like, don't you have anybody else? And they're like, no, we never leave. And I'm like, there's somebody has to go to the bank. Well, she's here, he's here. They've got a stock clerk, a guy who helps out. So this is it. They're the family. And we're before you with what I think is appropriate, that first time is bad luck, second time is a coincidence. I'd ask the board not to view this as the third time, since the first time is from 2007. A significant period between the first and between the second and the third, if you would, or the first and the second, however you wish to couch it. So in speaking with the Lee family, and their daughter, Judy, has been involved, Mr. Lee took it on himself to go get a physical, because he just wanted to make sure his eyesight and everything was good with him, and he advises me it is. He tells me that day he was busy up until it was near closing. Person came in, he thought he recognized him, and he served him. So we're here. I suggest on a coincidence, not the third time that is a pattern or a habit. They have an outstanding track record. They have no bad reputation with the board or law enforcement. And I'd ask you to impose an appropriate fine, merging, if the board please, the two counts which involve the same conduct. We're happy to answer any questions.
Chairman, do you have any questions?
Just a couple quick questions, Mr. Bittner. This, but there is no manager's agreement with any other employees, and both of the people here are licensees, and they both have an up-to-date alcohol awareness training, correct?
Correct. There are no managers. These are pure owner-operators, and they have up-to-date tams.
Yeah, and that's fine. I see no problem with that. I'm not saying they have to have one. If they want to spend all those hours there, you know, I totally understand that. I really do. And I also understand that the dates for the previous violations for sale to minors, one was June 8th of 2007, like you said. And we're not going to take that. I'm not going to take that into consideration when I make a motion because of the fact that it was 2007. But the second one was less than a year ago. And then, of course, this one that we're talking about tonight, and I do have a problem with that. Before I make a motion, I'd like to know what, if anything, different that they have been doing or plan on doing to prevent this from happening again.
Thank you, and I neglected to address that. We did discuss it. They really feel that it was human error. They are getting a sign for the counter. The counter has nothing on it, so they told me they've ordered placemat, card. They tell me they've always carded if they thought you look 35. Most of their clientele is regulars. In fact, when I was in there both times in the afternoon, it was pretty busy. Everybody knew everybody. We talked about a card reader. That again is really only as good as the human element. And they feel, as I say, Mr. Lee felt so bad about it. They were very upset. Both he and his wife, his daughter, expressed this to me as well as they did. And he went to the doctor and just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything going on with him. You know, the doctor. I don't want to get into confidentialities, but his age and 20 plus years in the business, you know, maybe time to slow down. So I think that's how they're addressing it, and the family's addressing it holistically, most respectfully.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
No question.
No questions.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, and I did hear everything, of course, everybody said, and I'm not going to take into consideration that first sale to minor back in 2007, but because the second time was within the last year, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that they be found guilty on both charges, and I'm going to also make a motion to put a fine of $1,000 per charge, a total of $2,000, and also just add another warning that, you know, if you come back again, it's a third time, especially if it's in a short period of time, and, you know, you just need to be very, very careful. Okay, that's my motion. I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I hear anything about costs, no cost assessed?
That's automatic, yeah. The administrative cost, and they'll be notified by the administration as to the total of the fine and the cost.
Thank
All
you
right?
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Lots of luck to
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Our next case is Cavalli, BL Annapolis LLC. Brian Hovermail, member. Inspector Joe McKernan. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table and remain standing if you could. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Brown, if we could start with your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Samuel J. Brown, BROWN, on behalf of the applicants tonight.
Brian Hovermail, 2021 Puritan Terrace, Annapolis, Maryland.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're here on a transfer tonight. This is a rare transfer. You're not going to see this too often because we're downgrading this license. Do you remember the troubles we had before and all the time we took to get this license moved up the way we did? Well, it's a downgrade because they don't care to sell alcohol to go. They don't care to sell their wine out there. They're not going to have labeled wine to do it. The last labeled wine will go when the name Tuscan Prime is gone. Okay, so that's basically it. You have a corporation known as BL, an LLC known as BL. It has the primary member here tonight is Brian Hovermail. Brian has experience in the restaurant business for over 10 years. His other people involved in this have all experience in the restaurant business. There are no changes, absolutely none, outside of a sign. We're going to change the sign from Tuscan Prime name to the Cavalli name. That's the only change going into place. It's the same paint, it's the same bar, it's the same everything that's going on there. I'm sorry.
He's having a hard time recording.
I'm always loud. She laughs at me. Okay. So there are no changes going on at all in there right now. It's you know where the location is, you know it's a rural town center, it's a nice large place. It has no, to my knowledge, it has no violations and no problems that have existed since it opened. I represented them when we came in the original license on it. Originally, Darren Burns had done some things, and I hopped in and took care, and then we got the license for them. Everything has been operating well. You have the floor plans, you have everything. The property has been advertised. I'm assuming your inspector or someone has the picture of the sign out there. That's not a problem with the thing. We followed everything. I'd ask that the board would take notice of everything we filed as our initial exhibit in this case, so that there's no questions on our application, all the documentation we filed and everything else. Mr. Hovermill is prepared to answer any questions he has. Mr. Lyman threw a copy of the rules and regulations at him and said, make sure you read these and understand them. And he said he read them, and I'm not sure he understands them, but I'm not sure we all do anyway, because there's so many changes now. But he understands the basics. He understands what's going on. All the people that are serving out there will be TIPS TAM certified on it. There will be manager's agreement in place out there as to what's going on. I understand recently there were some manager's agreements that weren't there for the existing place on there, but we had no control over that, so we're taking the control of that right now, and all managers' agreements. Once we have all documentation in, including the workers' comp, the retail sales tax, and that new thing you have to have from the county, which turns around and says you have a building permit whether you want to build or not, which I don't understand, but we're filling it out. It's another taxation, but that's okay. It's a taxation that they can have. So we'll fill that out, we have everything done, and in the next several days, hoping to get everything done for a transfer of the license. If there's any particular questions you have for me or for Mr. Hovermill, we're happy to answer them.
Chairman, any questions?
Just one or two quick ones. Mr. Hovermill, do you have any financial interest in any other establishments in the state of Maryland that sell alcohol?
Yeah, I have Galliano over in Gambrels, Wall Chapel. That would be the yeah. That would be it.
Okay, that's the only one besides what we're talking about tonight, right?
No, that's it. I'm trying to think. Cause I'm thinking about the city versus the county liquor board. Oh, Delanote and Cape St. Clair.
No, okay.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. And I guess it's nice to have so much interest in so many different things. That
Well,
you
no,
can't
I
keep
have
track
to
of.
think about it. I'm like, are we in the city or are we in the county? Because I have one in the city
I
as well.
understand. All right, but thank you. I appreciate your honesty. The only other question that I have is that this license, before it's transferred, has no restrictions on it. It is a Class H restaurant, beer, wine, and liquor, entertainment, Sunday license with outdoor service. And you understand that, correct?
Yes.
And that's acceptable. Okay, I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
No questions.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this transfer as is. And Mr. Brown, thank you for having all of your paperwork straightened out. I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Okay, well, thank you both for seconds.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now you can,
We'll get out of your way. Few words tonight. I did okay, right?
I'm sorry.
I did okay with a few words?
Actually, you did really well.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I see a smile on Commissioner Snoops. She's-
Good to see everybody.
Okay, thank you. Good night. Lots of luck.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck.
Yeah.
Moving right along, our next case is El Carrito Mexican Grill. El Carrito LLC, Sean Hicks, member, Inspector Vin Pelletier. This is a transfer and upgrade music. Currently, Ricardo Alvarado Jr., member, Ricardo Serrano, managing member, Sean Hicks, member, Bellows Companies LLC, trading as La Fogata, located at 3029 Solomons Island Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037. This is a Class H restaurant, beer, wine, liquor, Sunday license. It is not restricted. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And you may be seated. And if we could, Ms. Wheatley, start with you. Your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening, the board. I'm Kiera Wheatley on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Sean Hicks, for El Carrito LLC. We are here for a Class H beer, wine, liquor license with Sunday service, and we're requesting an upgrade to allow a music permit. So,
And Ms. Wheatley, if we could get your name and address for the
I'm
record.
sorry.
And also Mr. Hicks, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
yes, Kiera Wheatley, address is 200 Westgate Circle, Suite 500, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Sean Hicks, 584 Melissa Court, Arnold, Maryland, 21012.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Wheatley?
Yes, so we are here for the Class H beer, wine, liquor license. The applicant submitted a transfer application for this license, which I believe the board has copies of, and asked to be admitted into evidence for this hearing. We submitted also an affidavit demonstrating that the notice was posted properly, and that was sent in as well. And I asked that to be made part of the record as well. As far as a brief history of this property and this applicant goes, the previous business at this property was Fellow Companies LLC, trading as La Fagata. The address is 3029 Solomons Island Road, Edgewater, Maryland. The La Fagata restaurant first obtained a Class H license in 2021 with a special entertainment permit as well as Sunday service. The licenses for that license are Ricardo Serrano, Ricardo Alvaro, and Sean Hicks, the applicant for this transfer. Mr. Hicks has worked in the restaurant business for a comprehensive about 10 years as either an employee or a licensee for La Fagata over the last 3 years. He's currently now a member of the new company that has bought this business and is operating at the restaurant, El Cabrito LLC, along with Mr. Alberto Soto Cruz. Mr. Cruz has owned and operated several Mexican restaurants throughout the state of Maryland. So together with Mr. Hicks, who has experience at the previous La Fagata restaurant, the two have extensive knowledge and understanding of restaurants, the restaurant business and alcohol sales, and the rules and regulations of this board. Mr. Hicks first became certified through the alcohol awareness training courses when he became the licensee for the La Fagata liquor license. He's maintained that certification over the years and intends to renew it as needed to keep that certification. Mr. Hicks has worked with several employees to ensure that they're certified in alcohol awareness and will continue to do so with all the El Cabrito employees. He intends to hire certified managers as well and have that management agreement available, since obviously as one person he cannot be there at all times. But he will ensure that there is someone there at the premises during operating hours. Mr. Hicks does not currently possess a financial interest in any other licensed business in Anne Arundel County that serves alcohol. And he and the entity do not have any plans to alter the existing floor plan. So it will be the same floor plan as it was with La Fagata, that it will be with El Cabrito LLC. Mr. Hicks is aware that if any time the entity intends to change the floor plan, approval must be granted by the board. And he's aware and understands that as the licensee, he is responsible to answer to the board for any violations committed at the property. He's been provided a copy of the rules and regulations and is very familiar with them and intends to uphold those rules and regulations at all times. I'll just conclude with a few questions to Mr. Hicks to confirm that my proffer to you is accurate. So, Mr. Hicks, is this application and all supplemental documents that have been submitted to the board true and accurate?
It is.
And has my proffer of your testimony to the board been accurate and complete?
It is.
Have you reviewed and received the board's rules and regulations pertaining to the service of alcoholic beverages in Anne Arundel County?
I have.
Will you at all times have at least one person on premises who is trained and certified by the Alcohol Awareness Program?
Yes.
Is there anything else you have to add to this testimony?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you have any questions, we'd submit that he meets all criteria to transfer this Class H license, and we do request that music upgrade. I know there was an entertainment permit before that was taken away due to some issues that they had in the past, but since the music permit is a lesser of an impact than the entertainment permit, we're hoping that with this new business model, Sean Hicks being an experienced licensee and new management to help him ensure that that music permit is facilitated without any disturbance to the peace in the community, that they can move forward with that permit.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wheatley. I have a couple of questions. The first one's a quick one. Mr. Hicks, do you have any financial interest? I know your, excuse me, your attorney said you didn't have any in Anne Arundel County, but do you have any financial interest in any other place that sells alcohol in the state of Maryland?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the music. When you plan on, how late you can plan on using this form of entertainment? What days, or do you have any limitations at all? Do you plan on any?
As of right now, we don't have any set plans. It would just be like background music. You know, we would be willing to follow any kind of restrictions you guys had with that. As far as hours right now, we're closing at 10. Ideally, on the weekends, we'd like to be open a little bit later. But again, if it's something you guys are willing to grant, we'd be more than happy to follow whatever guidelines you set.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions at this moment.
Commissioners?
No, I just have one question in reference to the closing hour. Do you close each day at that hour, 10 o'clock?
Yes, sir. As of right now, we do. We would like to, if possible, be open later on Friday nights and Saturday nights.
Okay, thank you.
But you're not asking for that now. You're telling this board that you're planning on closing at 10.
Well, I think right now they don't want any restrictions on the hours that they're allowed to operate as far as alcohol service goes. But their intention is to close Monday through Sunday through Thursday at 10 p.m. and then close on Fridays and Saturdays as late as, I guess, 2 a.m. that the state allows alcohol to be served.
Any questions, Commissioner Snoops?
Question, what time did you want to close on the weekends? So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. No further questions at this time. If you'd like to offer anything else.
No.
I believe you have all the documents and everything, so we'll submit on that.
All right, thank you. I'm very familiar with the establishment, the location, and basically the history. And Mr. Hicks, by the way, he's always been very involved in trying to run a good place. Unfortunately, the past establishments and the location of it has caused some problems. And there's still concerns about the neighborhood people. There are homes relatively close to the establishment. And
I'm sorry,
really
can we
on the
please, Mr. Chairman, I apologize, can we please keep it down in the audience? Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chief. You know, I really think, Mr. Hicks, you would do a good job in running this establishment. I really do. And I don't see any problems with going ahead and accepting this transfer based on that, but I do have a problem with the music. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion now that we accept the transfer, but I'm also going to hold the music. And I'd make a recommendation that if you can show us in the next 24 months that you don't have any incidents and there aren't any problems, especially relating to noise and music, I'd be very open to hearing the addition to music at that time. But right now, I'm not going to go ahead and agree to have music as part of this transfer, and that's my motion. Looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You know, you have your transfer, and like I say, 24 months, please come back.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you.
Okay, our next case is Liquor Mart and Deli.
Wait, reading.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table. Remain standing and raise your right hands, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give, excuse me, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And Mr. Lyman, if we could begin with you with your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Brian Lyman, Lyman, on behalf of the applicants for transfer.
I, Pankaj Kumar Patel, resident at 1033 Spa Road, apartment number F, Annapolis, MD.
Thank you.
Myself, Happy Patel, 1033 Spa Road, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Thank you.
Katie Dentremont, 1459 Falcon S Court, Arnold, Maryland.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Lyman?
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Mr. Chairman, board members, we're here for a transfer of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor tasting license with Sunday privileges. I just note for the record that the docket or the agenda does not include liquor tasting. I believe the application does include liquor tasting. I don't think that that's an obstruction to proceeding tonight necessarily. I just want to clarify for the record that the applicants are seeking a tasting for beer, wine, and liquor. The transfer application before you is determined whether or not Mr. Paul Patel, as he's known to me, and my associate attorney at my office, Katie D'Entremont, are fit and proper persons to hold the license. This store is certainly well known to the board over the course of its long tenure at the famous corner there right by the Annapolis Mall. They propose no changes to the operation of the establishment. They intend to run the establishment much as the Pinsky family ran it for years and years, offering a lunch special at the deli, service of deli sandwiches and to-go meals, which is a bit strange for a Class A license. I think this is a bit of an old license where that privilege may not be packaged up the same way these days if you were to apply for a new Class A license. But nevertheless, they understand that the only service of alcohol on the premises will be in the context of tastings and in accordance with the board's rules and regulations. I'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Patel. He's been in the country for about 2.5 years. He has worked at a family member's establishment in Camp Meade where he's learned the alcohol business, Camp Meade Liquors, and as of late at Lighthouse Liquors just in the city of Annapolis. He is a fit and proper person to be the primary owner and licensee before this board. He does have a bit of a language speaking issue. He understands English very well, and I believe he's got an engineering background, so he is a pretty smart guy, and he's able to certainly uphold the board's rules and regulations and the laws of Maryland in being a licensee. With that, I'd proffer that everything that has been submitted to the board remains true and correct and accurate, and I'm happy to have the board inquire of the licensees if necessary. As I said, the licensee or the applicants propose no changes to the operation of the license, either hours or business plan or anything. They intend to operate Liquor Mart and Deli largely as it's been operated for probably the 60 or 70 years it's been at that location. It's really sort of an iconic store in my mind here in Anne Arundel County. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions the board may have.
Chairman, any questions?
Yes, the same question I asked pretty much everybody in this case. Do any of the licensees have any other financial interest in any other establishments in the state of Maryland that sell alcohol?
Yeah, yes, sir. We do have my dad owns a property on.
He owns a real property?
Just a real property.
He doesn't own a business that runs.
Okay.
No retail businesses.
There's no licensed entity that he owns an interest in.
Okay, but thank you for the answer.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And Ms. D'Entremont doesn't own any interest either, correct?
Correct.
You're saying that with a smile. Okay. I want to check with our counsel, and if you'll. Okay, I have no questions at this time.
Commissioners?
No questions?
No question.
And I apologize, I didn't introduce Happy Patel. Happy is the anticipated manager. He's Paul's son. He's going to spend a lot of time at this store and be the the hands-on
Person on the
person
counter
who's
dealing
going
with
to handle customer service in the late hours, I would imagine, as may be necessary for his dad, Mr. Patel.
Okay, thank you and welcome, Happy. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this transfer and to include the tasting as well. Sorry about the clerical error on our end, but I don't see any problem with us going ahead and accepting that. So the motion is for the transfer to include the tasting. Looking for a second.
Second motion.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Congratulations.
Thank
Lots
you,
of luck
everybody.
to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, and I enjoy the deli, so you'll see me there. It's right around the corner from our office,
Sure,
so.
I would love to serve you, sir.
Our next case is Pasta and Vino. CBC. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
And if you could, please remain standing and raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. You may be seated. And sir, if we could start with you, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Milton Gonzalez, and I live in 1201 Highview Drive, Annapolis, Maryland, 21409.
Yes, my name is Elvin Vladimir Garcia. My address is 1620 Rock Hall Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Linda Carter, and I'm with Carter Law, and I'm here on behalf of Pasta Vino. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, with the board's permission, if we could proceed by proffer. We have filed an application for transfer for this license. I would proffer to the board that all of the information contained in the application is still true and accurate as we appear before the board today. I've presented to the board what I would request be marked and accepted as applicant's exhibit number 1, and it contains a menu, and I'm very glad there aren't pictures, because if you've been there, you know the food is phenomenal, and a layout. And as the board is aware, there were some recent renovations to the establishment. They have been completed. Oh, I'm sorry, there are pictures of the food. I apologize. Just don't look at the back. They have been completed. To my left is the applicant licensee, and to my right is the manager and operator. These two cousins do have other businesses, and Mr. Chairman, I'll let you ask that question so that they can answer it directly.
Thank you.
But I have to tell you, Milton said to me today, he said, as soon as this license is transferred, the very first thing I'm going to do is file either 3 or 4 manager forms, because I need a day off. And Mr. Chairman, that would be our case, subject to the board's questioning.
Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you,
No
sir.
question.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add before we make a motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Carter, good presentation. By the way, the photographs are enticing.
I know. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to look at them, that's right.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. What time do you close tonight? No. No. Okay, I think enough said and shown. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to accept this transfer as is, and as long as all the paperwork is in order, and I'm sure, knowing Ms. Carter and her office it is, you can pick up your license once the administration lets you know. Okay? I'm looking.
Thank you
that was
so
a
much.
second. I'm sorry, did we vote?
No.
We did? Okay. That was a motion. I'm looking for a second.
A second.
All right, I have a second. Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I can say thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
It's been a long month. What can I tell you?
Our next case
Good
is
night.
Cheverdy's Liquors, PNN 6179 Inc. Ramajit Singh, President Treasurer. Neelam Kaur, Secretary. Inspector Jackie Alsup. This is a transfer. Currently, Albert Shaverdi, President. Sakavus Shaverdi, Treasurer. Jerry C. Shaverdi, Vice President. Shaverdi's Liquor, Inc., trading as Shaverdi's Liquors, located at 6721 Chesapeake Center Drive, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. This is a Class A beer, wine, liquor, and Sunday service. There is a restriction as of June 27th, 2000. All employees, licensees must be certified in a state-approved alcohol awareness program within 60 days. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table and remain standing. If you could please raise your right hand for me. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Thank you.
And Ms. Evans, if we could begin with you with your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Carolyn Evans, law offices of Tony DePaula, 34 South Main Street, Bel Air, Maryland. For the applicants, Piramjit Singh and Neelam Kaur have applied for the transfer of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor off-sale 7-day license for the use
Ms.
of...
Evans, we need to get them on the record.
I'm sorry?
We need name and address for the record. I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's 6721. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Your home address.
My home address, okay,
Yes.
768 Villager Circle, Baltimore, Maryland, 21222.
And your name, sir.
My name Paramjit Singh.
One more time.
Paramjit Singh.
Yes.
My name is Neelam Kaur. My home address is 384 Infield Road, Joppa, 21085.
Thank you very much. Thank
Chairman,
you.
I just place my appearance on the record. Richard Bittner, I represent the Shamardis, the sellers. They're here in the audience. We don't
Okay.
expect that we're going to present our things.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner.
Thank you.
Ms. Evans.
Thank you. As stated, this is an application for the transfer of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor off-sale 7-day liquor license for the use of PNG 6179 Inc., trading as Shavardi's Liquor. As an existing license, the location is 6721 Chesapeake Center Drive, Unit 140, Glen Burnie. It is a liquor store of long standing next to the Walmart there. I would move the application into evidence at this time. I would note that the notice was properly posted. Paramjit Singh is the 50% owner, Neelam Kaur is the 50% owner. Both are citizens of the United States. Mr. Singh lives in Dundalk, is married with two children. He is the president and treasurer of PNN 6179 Inc. Ms. Kaur lives in Joppa, Maryland, and she is the secretary of the company. The Anne Arundel County resident is Mr. Shaverday Kachatur Shaverday. He lives in Glen Burnie. Mr. Singh and Ms. Kaur have taken the alcohol awareness test and have received their certificates. Another new employee, Suji Kaur, has also taken the test and received her certificate. The sellers, Albert Shavardi and Jerry Shavardi, will provide training after the closing as consultants to assist with the training and the operation of the business, including ensuring against the sales to minors. Also, they are keeping in current employees and a manager, and they are all certified as well. The applicants are not making any changes to the business, including the hours of operation, the floor plan, other than to make the business profitable. If they make any changes, they will let the board know. The applicants have read and are familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board and agree to abide them. There have been no changes to the application since it was filed. We would move for approval.
Chairman, any questions?
Yes, a couple. First of all, I'd like to ask both the licensees the same question I've asked everybody else when it comes to transfers or new. Do they have any other financial interest or any financial interest in any other establishments in the state of Maryland that sell alcohol?
No.
No? Ma'am? Yes? No?
No.
No? Okay, thank you. You said Mr. Shaverdi's going to offer training?
Yes, sir.
For what kind of a period of time do we?
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, the management agreement and the people going on to the management agreement, I believe there was one presently showing, but for Mead, I believe Sean Mead and Carmen Kay.
Not aware of any management agreement. I'm not sure they're going to continue with that.
They're our current employees.
They are current?
Yes.
Do you know if they plan on staying?
Sean, I believe, is going to stay.
Okay. Well, with your management agreement, I'd appreciate you getting a copy of the alcohol awareness certificate or training cards or whatever, because we don't have a verification on the date of expiration, and we'd like to give that to the
For the
administration.
manager?
For any and all managers or those on a management agreement.
Okay.
Okay? So if any of the older managers are going to stay and work in that capacity, we just need a copy of their alcohol awareness training.
We'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bittner. Ever since June 27th of 2000, there was a restriction saying all employees and licensed to be certified in a state-approved alcohol awareness program within 60 days. Are they aware of that?
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
that's fine. Either way, I'll answer. I have no further questions at this time.
Commissioners?
No question.
Anything else you'd like to add before I make a motion?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to make a motion that we accept this transfer. And I appreciate Mr. Shabardi staying and helping train the new licensees. I am going to change the restriction. I'm going to put all employees and licensees must be certified in a state-approved alcohol awareness program, period. That means I'm deleting within 60 days, which simply means in order to work there, they need to be trained. So we think it's essential that all employees in this type of a class license be trained as soon as possible. Okay, now with that, I'm going to make that motion that we accept the transfer with that restriction. Looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Our next case is Yanakis Taverna at the Brick House. Yanakis Taverna at the Brick House, Inc. Yanis Cassiani, President. Inspector John Maloney. This is a transfer. Currently, Joseph Litchfield, President. Litchfield Day, Inc. Trading as Brick House of Shadyside, located at 1534 Cedarhurst Road, Shadyside, Maryland, 20764. This is a Class B beer, wine, liquor, dancing, and Sunday license. This license is not restricted. Anybody wishing to testify, please approach the table, remain standing. Thank you for raising your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And Ms. Wheatley, if we could begin with you with your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Kira Wheatley from Hyatt and Weber on behalf of the applicant here. Address is 200 Westgate Circle, Suite 500, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Sir?
Yes, sir. Yanis Capriani, 1237 Tyler Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Ms. Wheatley?
Thank you. So, like he stated, we are here for a Class B beer, wine, liquor license that has currently the special permits for dancing and Sunday service and on and off sales of liquor. The applicant submitted a transfer application before you, I believe the board has copies of, as well as the affidavit of posting that the sign was posted properly and photos with that was submitted earlier today. So if you don't have copies of that, I brought copies just in case, but we have that as well. I'll give you a brief history of the property and this applicant before any questions. The Brick House has been a staple in Shadyside since the 1990s. The restaurant first obtained a liquor license in November of 1999 and has operated ever since with no disruption to the surrounding community, very little complaints, one violation history, I believe, in 2000, nothing since then. The licensee of the existing license is Mr. Joseph Peter Litchfield, who is very well known in the community for his operation of the Brick House and service in the community. The applicant, Mr. Kakoyani, seeks to take over this business and the property and continue operating the brick house as it has been and maintaining that service and reputation in the community that it's built over the last 25 years. So really intending to not make any significant changes to this, keep it operating as is, and keep it a respectable family-operated restaurant. This will be the first liquor license that Mr. Kakoyani has held, but he has experience in working in restaurants and serving alcohol. He's worked for Family's Restaurants and at Mike's Crab House over in Riva, so familiar with the area and how to serve alcohol responsibly. He has been certified, or he's taken the alcohol awareness training. He just hasn't received his actual certification, the copy of the certification yet. We'll make sure that we have that prior to the issuance of the permit, and we'll provide that to the board. He intends to ensure that all management, managers for the licensee will be tips trained as well. And he will ensure that at least one person is present at all times on the premises during operating hours that is tip certified and serving as a manager of the license. He, so at this time, he'll testify that he does not have any, doesn't possess a financial interest in any other licensed business with a liquor license at an establishment in Anne Arundel County, I believe, not in the state as well.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Oh, yes, that's correct.
He doesn't have any plans to change the existing floor plan. Like I said, he's just keeping this as is. He's aware that if that changes, then he'd need to seek approval for that. He's aware that if he is responsible for any liquor license violations committed at the property and would need to answer to this board concerning any violations. He's been provided, personally I provided him with a copy of the rules and regulations, and he's informed me he's read every single page. So he understands the rules and regulations that he has to uphold and intends to uphold those at all times. I'll just conclude with a few questions for him to confirm that that proffer is accurate for you, and then I'll invite you to ask any questions that you may have. So, Mr. Kakoyani, is the application and all supplemental documents that have been submitted to the board true and accurate?
Yes.
Has my proffer of your testimony to the board been accurate and complete?
Yes.
Have you received and reviewed the board's rules and regulations pertaining to the service of alcoholic beverages in Anne Arundel County?
Yes.
Will you at all times have at least one person on premises who is trained and certified by an alcohol awareness program?
Yes.
And is there anything else you have to add to this testimony?
No.
Okay. Thank you, and that will submit to the board and invite any questions if you have them.
Chairman?
Same question, and I know you asked it, but I'm going to ask it one more time. Do you have any financial interest in any establishment that sells alcohol in the state of Maryland?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, twice. Okay, the management agreement.
Yes, sir.
Do you have, or do you plan on having employees put on the management agreement?
Me and my girlfriend, Jennifer, she's both taken the TIPS training course in January 17th. It was a little late because our original hearing was on the 28th of February and we got bumped earlier. So that's why it was we don't have the documentation.
Right, you do understand that either you as the licensee must be on the premises
Yes,
at all
sir.
times you're open, or a person whose name appears on the management agreement and has the alcohol awareness training.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it might put the obligation on you until such time as.
Yes, sir.
All right, and do you have an up-to-date alcohol awareness training certificate?
The certificate, we took the class on, the TIPS certificate?
Yes.
Yeah, we took the class on January 17th.
All right,
So
do
we
you have
haven't
the
got it.
actual certificate or a copy of
They
it?
haven't received a copy
Still
yet.
waiting for it?
Yes, still waiting.
And trust me, I know tips, it may be a while.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just make a note that it's coming, and when you get it, would you please forward a copy to our office?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
And,
Chairman, I can confirm that we received confirmation from the Prevention Coalition that they did take the course.
Okay, very good. And I did also take note that August 21st of the year 2000 was the last violation they had at that location. So
Yes, sir.
Hopefully you'll continue that record going as is.
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
I have one question in reference to the hours.
Yes, sir.
What will be the hours of your operation?
Pretty much the same hours, 7 days a week, like lunchtime until like 2, I believe is when he's open. We're going to try to just maintain the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Wheatley, before we
No,
make a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the transfer based on the information that we have, and I would highly recommend and suggest you keep the management agreements up to date, and perhaps you can have as many people on that as you wish.
Okay.
Doesn't make them a manager, it just gives them your authority to speak for you when you're not there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that's a form of a motion to accept the transfer. Looking for a second?
I accept the transfer. I second the motion. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking,
I was
what, do
thinking-
you want it in your name?
No. Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have it. Okay.
Thanks very
accept it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Lots
sir.
of love to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Our next case is Chillax's LLC. Thank you very much, Mr. Fleckenstein. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, and if we could, Mr. Fleckenstein, start with your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Tom Fleckenstein, Fleckenstein, representing the applicant, Russell Smith. My address is 100 Cathedral Street, Suite 9 here in Annapolis. Present is the applicant, Mr. Smith. He'll give his name and address as well.
Russell Smith, my address is 2600 LeCompte Lane, Davidsonville, Maryland, 21035.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before you get started, if I may, Mr. Fleckenstein.
Here we go.
That is your briefcase over there?
Yes, I did not bring it. That's the first thing I was going to note to you.
Trust me, it was the first question I had for you. And I know you remember.
Very well.
All too well, yes.
Okay, very good. Please proceed. I apologize.
No, not at all. As I indicated, I was going to make a quick note of that myself. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll proffer most of the information. Mr. Smith is here certainly to answer questions as well. It does seem as though each time I've been here with Chillax's, it's been somewhat of a unique application. Obviously, the first time was the first time we'd asked the board to consider licensing an establishment in the fledgling industry of axe throwing at the time, hence the reason we brought the small hatchet, as I would describe it, as opposed to an axe. And we all know how that turned out. But now it's unique in the sense that Mr. Smith, who's been a partner or has been a principal in this business since the beginning, is now here seeking basically the reissuance of the license. There was a prior licensee. We'd hoped to do a transfer. That didn't work out. And so we are here basically to ask the board to issue the same license to the same establishment now to Mr. Smith on behalf of the business. But again, Mr. Smith has been a principal in the business and has worked in the business and has operated the business throughout. And in that sense is a somewhat unique applicant to the extent that he's completely familiar with this business and has operated it both prior to the holding of a liquor license during the period of time where there was a liquor license, which was approximately in April of 2023 through September this year, and then into the future. I will point out, and I know it's generally a question, first and foremost, they take their safety incredibly seriously. Obviously, even though it's a small hatchet, and we can joke about it in here, there is the potential, obviously, for there to be at least a concern about safety. But I can tell you all, and I think we went into this the first time, they're not really throwing axes that you would consider, a big axe that you would be cutting down trees with. It really is a small hatchet type thing. It does have an axe head, but it's a much smaller hatchet. That's the only item that gets thrown, unlike some other establishments of similar, in the similar industry. They don't have throwing stars or anything like that. They only throw the small hatchets. They have lanes set up. It's only about 12 feet, and actually it's exactly 12 feet from where the participant will stand to where they throw it to the target. There are dividers between the lanes. They have their rules and regulations posted in a number of places very conspicuously throughout the establishment, but at the, close to each of the lanes. I have just a quick example for each of you, if you'd like to take a quick look at the types of things that are posted up there. Each time a group comes in and makes a reservation to participate in the axe throwing, whether they are a repeat customer or a first-time customer, they're given a very specific safety training as well by one of the employees, right down to not just how to hold the axe or even how to throw it, but even how to return it in a safe manner to the next thrower. And as you can see, during the period of time where there was alcohol service, and when we hope will be alcohol service again, there's strict restrictions on where the alcohol can be. Not allowed to throw an axe, for instance, with an alcoholic or actually any other beverage in your hand. That goes into safety as well. I can tell you gladly that since the establishment's been in business, they actually have not had an incident of even any kind of a minor injury. This includes when they opened initially and were BYO, and it includes the period of time where they had the prior license. In fact, Mr. Smith told me an anecdote today that they just had to get rid of a first aid kit that they've had in the establishment since they first opened, and literally nothing other than one Band-Aid was taken out of it. Their patrons are almost always well-behaved. They've only had one instance in the 5 years they've been open that they've had to ask someone to be removed for improper, bad behavior, improper play, and that actually was even prior to when they got their liquor license initially. And I think Mr. Smith would also tell the board that the people themselves, when they come in, as they're learning and being trained to throw, they actually seem to have more concern and be more nervous for safety than even the employees or the proprietors. People tend to take it very seriously. I submitted then, and I submit now, that I think in many ways, despite the activity that's going on, it's actually somewhat safer and more controlled than a bar that has darts or pool tables and pool sticks or bocce or any of those types of things. And thankfully, they've just never had an incident. It's just not the way people use the establishment. The lanes that they use to throw the axes, unless an employee or a manager is actually in the restroom or something like that, all of the lanes are visible. All the participants that are there at any one time are visible to the employees at all times, from just about any place in the establishment. I guess maybe in the office as well, someone wouldn't be able to see. But there's supervision constantly, and there's not areas of the establishment where the axe throwing is going on that anyone would not be, I don't want to say they're under surveillance, but where they're not visible and they're not being monitored. What's unique and I think important for the board to consider, particularly for the liquor license, is that almost all, and I think I can safely say 99% of the people who come in, whether they're drinking alcohol or not, are in the establishment for a very, very short period of time. When you reserve a lane or you book a group, you're generally there. There's sessions for an hour. There are hour-and-a-half sessions. There's some very, very rare 2-hour sessions for larger groups that may need a little bit more time. But people are in there. They pay for their time. They use their hour, hour-and-a-half. Maybe on rare occasions they're 2 hours, and they're not in there. In other words, they're not hanging out in there drinking. People aren't hanging out in there doing anything really other than the purpose for which they came there, which is to enjoy the axe throwing. And so the bar service is really ancillary to the main business. In other words, it's not like they've got a bar set up where they want people to come in and sit down and watch a game and drink for long periods of time and then maybe throw some axes, right? It's not a bowling alley in that sense. It's not a pool hall or any place that would have a hangout that then would have the amusement. People are there for the amusement. If they happen to want to have a drink or two, then that's what they will do. And it's really set up for the people to come in, have a beverage or two while they're there. They don't even have seats at the bar. More importantly, they have a very limited bar. It's not a full-service bar. There's not a lot of liquor. It's only cans. There's no glass bottles. They don't have glasses that they're serving alcohol in. So it's really beer, wine, seltzers, and cans, that type of thing, that people are able to enjoy when they're there. They had quite a bit of success when they had the liquor license previously. Mr. Smith could answer some questions to this, but they have seen a significant financial hit in the months now since the prior applicant or the prior licensee turned the license in, to the extent that a couple of months he's kind of had to go, if it doesn't mind me saying, into personal funds to pay the rent, pay the employees, and keep the place open. So it really is a significant part of their business, even though it's ancillary to the main business. That revenue from the bar, in fact, is quite important to them being able to sustain the business and keep it going. Hours-wise, I know Commissioner Duffy's had this question quite a bit. They close at 11 o'clock, regardless of what night they're open, if there's people that are still there participating in axe throwing. If there is a booking, in other words, somebody can't come in and say, hey, I want to start at 10:30. The latest you can start is 9:45, and that would be an hour slot. And basically an hour booking, you're booking an hour to actually throw, and then you're getting 15 minutes, give or take, to be trained and to kind of get your safety briefing kind of thing. So there's nights that they're not open till 11 o'clock because maybe they don't have a booking at 9:45, and they can shut it down. But they're not taking bookings that start at 11 that would keep the establishment open and serving alcoholic beverages, let's say till midnight or 12:30. 11 o'clock, they're done. And so they set up their last booking for that purpose. They do currently employ 5, and I don't believe that includes you, correct? The managers that they have all have management agreements except for one who has come on during the period of time that they haven't had the liquor license. And certainly, should the board grant the license, that manager, there'll be a management agreement for, I think it's a female, for her as well. So he understands the rules and regulations relative to that. Certainly will abide by that. There's a manager on scene at all times. As I indicated, the business has been successful, but is experiencing some issues with the economy, and certainly the liquor license not being there has been an issue. The industry as a whole, there's more establishments in the general area than there were when we were here a year and a half or so ago, or almost 2 years. There's much more competition. Some of those businesses are doing well. Some of them, I have no idea if they're doing well. Some have liquor licenses, some don't. Jurisdictions, there's some in D.C., there's, I think, 2 now in Waldorf. And, with more competition means that there's, more need to be able to generate the revenue, which again is where the request for the liquor license comes in, and makes it much more important to their success. I can also tell the board that during the time that they did have the liquor license, they had, again, experienced strong business. They had a lot of loyal customers. A lot of people would come in, frequently. It's not something, and I can't say it's an activity that people undertake weekly, but they're in there for relatively frequently. Since they've not had the liquor license, it has been an issue that's come up, been raised by customers, particularly repeat customers to Mr. Smith on a number of occasions, including some customers that were frequent patrons when there was a liquor license and there was the limited bar service, that have frankly expressed some dissatisfaction with the fact that they no longer have it. They come in, they expect it, it's not there, and they're unhappy with that. And so with that, Mr. Smith is otherwise a fit and proper person to hold the license. He does not have any interest in any other establishment in Anne Arundel County, in the state of Maryland, that has any service of alcohol. And again, what we are simply asking is to basically to grant to Mr. Smith to run at this establishment the license, the Class D, the beer, wine, liquor with the Sunday dancing. Again, it's an on sale only. I think I failed to mention that, but it's on sale only. And we're asking the board to grant to him the license that it did grant to the prior applicant. We've got obviously a track record now as well. I'm not aware that there's been any issue. I think Mr. McCarthy is here and I think could attest to that. And so I think in every respect, Mr. Smith is the proper person to continue on with this business, and I would ask the court to look favorably upon his application.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fleckenstein. Mr. Smith, I was here when we originally gave you the license, you and Mrs., and of course the event of that evening. I really, the only questions that I have, one is in reference to the financial, and I know your attorney mentioned it, but he did say you have no financial interest in any other establishment in the state of Maryland. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, fine. I just wanted you to know that I need him to personally say that to me. I noticed on here you talk about VIP access. Would you explain to me what a VIP axe is?
Same size axe, wooden handle, it just looks nicer.
Oh.
We currently don't have any. What we've learned is that if you don't know how to properly throw the axe right off the bat, that wooden handle lasts about 3 throws. If you're proficient in it, it's a great axe to use. But yeah, honestly, it just looks nicer.
Okay, I mean, when I saw that, I was picturing something with bows or streamers or something. Okay. Also, you're not really changing much of anything, and I do like your signage. Do your customers sign this?
They do not. They sign a waiver upon entry or upon booking if they're on top of it, which outlines most of our rules and some liability factors.
All right, I'm fine with that.
I can address that a little further.
Sure.
It's all done electronically. When people book, they either book online or if they're walk-in, which is a smaller percentage. They have the waiver, the rules and regulations and everything like that right on a laptop, or excuse me, on like a tablet computer system that they have. And people aren't actually even able to get into the establishment from past the front desk until they sign that, until they acknowledge the rules and regulations. And then again, they get the training from the staff that's there that day, and then of course signage like that is throughout the establishment.
Okay, and my last question is, I'm curious, do you have any loss of axes that take place where they walk out the door at the end of the evening because somebody wants their axe?
Our managers or our employees walk the customers to their lane.
Okay.
They train them, they throw them. When they're done, we try to meet them at their lane and get the axes back.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I think I have the only one that came outside.
I don't think we gave that back to you, did we? Or no?
No,
think
I
we,
had it, as you may recall. The issue came up a couple of days later. I had it, I brought it in, I showed everybody, and I took off with it.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
Okay, with that being said, and the importance of the management agreement, make sure there is one up-to-date filed with our office, because otherwise, you're gonna have to remain on the property anytime you're open until that time. And so my motion is to go ahead and accept the new license for chilled axes. Looking for a second?
A second.
Thank you. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, sir.
Thank
Good
you
night,
very
Mr.
much.
Fleckenstein.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ms. Snoops, thank you. Mr. Hurdle, thank you. Mr. Duffy, thank you. Mr. Ford, thank you. It's good to see you all. Staff, have a great evening.
Thank you, gentlemen. You too. Our final case of the evening is Kilimanjaro USA African Cuisine and Lounge. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach that table. Remain standing, if you would, please, and raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. You may be seated. And sir, if we could start with you. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Alphonse Ate. Address is 13216 Bellevue Street, Silver Spring, MD 20904.
Thank you.
I'm called Christina Tezok. Address is 7010 St. Anne's Avenue, Lanham, Maryland 20706.
Thank you.
I'm George Fon. Address is 7010 St. Anne's Avenue in Lanham, Maryland, same zip code 20706.
Thank you very much.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Linda Carter, and it's my pleasure to be before you this evening a second time on behalf of Kilimanjaro USA African Cuisine and Lounge. So my understanding is that once upon a time, this location did have a license, and it was not one of the county's finest establishments. The landlord, and I would like to give the board a copy of a letter we received from him, spent a lot of time looking for a new business that could go into what was essentially turnkey, because all the FF&E was still there, but would be run appropriately and in harmony with what he considers to be a well-run center. So with the board's permission, if I could, I have a copy of a letter that we received later today, as well as the exhibit book. If I could please have those moved into evidence. I've spent a lot of time with my clients over the course of the last couple of months. They actually filed the application. I'm not going to say they filed it by themselves, because your staff really worked with them to make sure that the application was properly filed. But I've worked with them very closely in getting them to here tonight. The gentleman sitting to my left, Mr. Athey, is an experienced restaurant operator. He's been in the business for almost since the early 2000s. He has had a license in his name in Montgomery County, which, as Mr. Hurdle can tell you, says something in and of itself, because they really run you through the gamut there. He's also managed businesses that have had licenses. He has not had a business of his own for the last couple of years. He's actually been looking for the perfect location. Limited capital resources, so he needed turnkey, but he knew what he wanted to do. They're putting in about somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 to renovate this establishment and open it back up. They're hoping to have it open, and I told them this is I always want my clients to open early. This time I told them, boy, I hope you don't get to open until May 1st. Because they're hoping to open sometime between April and May, and they all understand that if they open in April, they do so without an alcoholic beverage license. The restaurant will have 130 seats roughly. The bar will have approximately 10. The hours of operation are kind of in flux right now. What we'd like to be able to do is to get closer to give the board a final of what the hours will be. Tentatively, I think they're talking about closing on Mondays, the day of rest, if you will, and opening from 3 to either midnight or 2, depending on the day of the week. The full menu would be available from the time they're open to the time they're closed. They're hoping to start an earlier lunch, but they need to see what the business is, because in that location, they're not sure that they're actually going to be able to draw an earlier lunch crowd. They are looking and they're exploring the possibility of like having brunch on Saturday and Sunday. They think that'll do well. Now, this particular location, and I asked, why did you choose this? And Alphonse said, well, if you go between Bowie and Baltimore, there's not a single West African restaurant. And West African food is, first, it's very flavorful, it's very spicy. But the other thing is, it is somewhat, I hate to say, I don't know how to put this, American neutral. There are certain African cuisines that have food that most Americans just won't eat. West African cuisine is much more centric. It's not, yes, there is goat, but there's a lot of chicken, there's a lot of fish. There are things that Americans are typically used to. So it does attract not only the African community, but also the American community that, wants an enhanced experience. They're anticipating that their customer counts will be somewhere, opening counts, of course, about 50 during the weekday and 100 on weekends. They will do carry-out food only. They're not going to use DoorDash or Uber Eats because, quite frankly, it's just too expensive and cuts into the profits. But if people want to come and buy food to go, they will do that. They understand there is no to-go alcohol, with the exception of an open bottle of wine that is partially consumed, resealed, put in a paper bag, stapled with a receipt, and with instructions to put in the locked glove compartment or the trunk. We went through this very carefully. Alphonse has been cooking since he was little. He learned to cook in his mother's kitchen. He takes pride in what he does. He will personally be training all of his cooks to cook in the way of his mother They hope to have between roughly 13 to 15 employees. I've asked them, and they've agreed that all managers and all bartenders will be alcohol awareness certified. He has already taken the alcohol awareness certification. The two licensee applicants to my left have not yet taken it, but they will be taking it prior to the time the restaurant opens. While Alphonse has had a hospitality background, my two licensee applicants next to me have had a slightly different background, and it's really interesting. Now, you have worked in the hospitality industry, but not extensively, but they're both involved in training individuals, helping them to get jobs, helping them to secure housing, helping them get mental health services, that type of thing. And they're contract employees, so they can work remotely. Their goal is to work primarily in the restaurant. That having been said, we did in fact review the importance of having managers, because you have to go to the bank, somebody gets the flu, it's somebody's birthday, and even though you've got 3 licensees, it's altogether possible that, you know, in that 15 minutes, there's not a licensee there. So he's agreed that all managers and all bartenders, again, will file the manager forms so that there's always some contact for the inspectors and the board and the staff to reach out to. Mr. Chairman, like always, I can keep going, but I think I'm done.
Chairman, any questions?
Oh, I apologize. We did file an application, and I would proffer to the board that all of the information in that application is still true and correct as my clients appear before you today.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Carter. The only questions that I have at this time is the same one I've asked everybody else, and that is, do any of the 3 licensees have any other financial interest in any other establishment in the entire state of Maryland that sell alcohol?
No.
No.
None of the 3 of you. Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
Okay, anything else, Ms. Carter, before I make a
No,
motion?
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this application for a new license and grant it, and I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion.
I have a second, looking for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Lots
so
of luck
much.
to you. I just happened to be next door to it 2 days ago, and you know, I know the place well from previous history, so.
You don't want him to know your place well.
We wish you well. Most of those inspectors know it well also.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, good night. Lots of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This is the conclusion to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board hearing for the 28th of this month. Thank everybody for coming. Thank you for your time and everybody's effort. Oh, I know. You should.